שמחה של שיר חדש
Are we locked and loaded? Okay, let's rock and roll it. All right. I see that none of you, maybe you were. Were you here at my Shavuot class? No. You were.
I was.
Okay, that's all right. I don't mind if you were. Because there was a thing in the Shavuot class I used, but I thought that maybe, since nobody here remembers it anyhow, and anyhow when you teach on Shavuot, everybody's sound asleep, so I could repeat it and start off the class we're going to deal with about prayer. There was a very amazing rabbi who lived here in Jerusalem named Rabbi Shwadron. And he was in an area called, or still called actually, Shari Chesed, and right in Rehavia area. He was very, very close with Shlomo Zalman Auerbach.
Shlomo Shwadron?
Yes.
The Magi?
Yes.
I was good.
Good man. So I used to be a student of his.
You think I'm joking?
No, I don't. I never. I don't even think.
No, I am.
So therefore, yes, I was a student of his, and I learned by him for a couple of years. And one of his classes, which I will introduce you to now, and if you ever saw the man, he was a short man with a very long beard, and it didn't matter if you were Jewish or non-Jewish. You looked at this man, you saw a holy man. You saw a holy man, which is important for the story. And he has a voice, which I can't do. But his voice, oh, shalom aleichem. And that's about as far as I can do of his voice. And so anyhow, so he would give this class on Friday night in the middle of Geula near Mea Sharim. And all Rabbi Dayan Fisher, all the giant rabbis, I mean, they were all 480 and up hitter rabbis, like amazing. And he would spellbound them. And he began like this. He said, I want to tell you a story that happened to me the other day. I went to Machne Yehuda, to the marketplace, and as I'm walking down, I hear a guy yelling out, tomatoes for such and such, and cucumbers for such and such. And before I knew it, somebody came up and punched me in the chest. You can't even imagine somebody punching this man, right? But that's what he said. I got punched in the chest. And before I knew what was happening, boom, I got punched a second time. And I start hearing, Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechalanu malkeinu. And I realized, I'm not in Machne Yehuda. I'm in the middle of davening Shmona Esray in shul. And my brain is wandering and wandering. I'm walking around, and maybe that's why this is not part of the class. But maybe that's why the sages made these two like speed bumps, so that if we're like off in another universe, the little speed bumps can somehow bring us back and wake us up. But this is really important because the whole idea of the power of prayer is not mumbling the words. And unfortunately, which we're going to address, you see the same thing. You see the same thing day after day after day after day. It becomes rote. You just it's easy to fall into, I don't know if any of you guys are ever into Dick Tracy, but it's easy to fall into mumbles. Where you're just kind of mumbling the text as you go along. And that's why our sages teach us that the most important thing in prayer is kavanah, from the word likivun. Kivun is like an arrow, the way you aim it and you shoot it. And when people ask the question, well, why do we need structured prayer? Shouldn't we have just prayer spontaneously and it just comes out, whatever comes out? And the answer is yes. Structured prayer does not come to exclude spontaneous prayer to God. Spontaneous prayer to God should be 24/7. But what happens is if we want to just for a minute do a reality check, we don't do it. Like if we were really doing 24/7, okay, great, but we don't do that. When we think about ourselves, I'm going to do 24/7, but we don't do that. So therefore, the tefillah of structure comes to lock us in and lock us down to what's really going on so that we don't just fly off in fantasy land and then one day before you know it, you're 120 years and you're gone. That you had an opportunity to grab life. Because guess what? Nobody gets out of here alive. Everybody's sentenced to life. right? How long are you in for? I'm in for life, right? Everybody's here sentenced to life. So, what? Again, almost like our question before, what's the purpose then? If nobody's going to live forever, why are we even here? The answer is golden opportunity. As well. The Zohar says that when a soul is born into this world, it's like an sun. It's like a sun that radiates light into the world. But if you navigate correctly, when you leave, you become a universe of light. That's the opportunity. A universe of light. So I don't know if you guys ever remember Pez candy dispensers. You know, so that's right. So like after 120 years, we're like that. The little head kicks back, the soul pops out, right? So what is it going to be like when we pop out? Are we going to have like one of those little scooters? That's all I did with my life? Or that's what I did with my life. And the prayers will keep you aligned. You know, it's like, I don't know I remember when I was a kid and we used to go to summer camp, and one of the challenges in the pool was to go the entire length and under with one breath. So you're pumping and pumping and pumping. You're starting to feel like you're turning blue. You're waiting to be like one of those fish that rolls over on its belly. You're dead. But you're not quitting. All of a sudden, bing, your head hits it and you made it. And no, you didn't. What happened was you veered off and you hit the side. So it's the same idea. You're swimming in the world of life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a chance to come up for a breath. That's called Shabbat. So each Shabbat becomes a little milestone. As time goes by, you have a handle on it. And down in the water, you have markings. So you can see where you're going. And those are tefillot. Those are the prayers to keep us aligned with what we're going to go through. So this is really important. Because also, I'll tell you another thing. God willing, you should all become great Torah scholars. And as you become great Torah scholars, it doesn't matter how old you are, right? Moshe only learned Torah at 80. So everybody can learn Torah. And therefore, as we grow in learning, the problem can become that Torah, we can also wind up being like cowboy gunslingers, trying to like pull out our guns and show, you want to see Devar Torah? Bing, 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 right? Or somebody else comes in and they challenge you, on guard, right? And now suddenly the Torah can become a lethal weapon, God forbid. But the truth of the matter is that Gemara says, Torah l'chud v'tefillah l'chud. Torah is one thing. Torah is God talking to you. But prayer is you talking to God. And that's why it's got to be both ways. Because, Reb Lau once said, what is the difference you have? In Israel, you have two lakes. You have the Dead Sea and you have the Kinneret. One of them, the Kinneret, is alive, filled with fish, and it's alive. And the other one, like its name says, is dead. Nothing can even live in it. What's the difference between the two lakes? One is wide and alive. They both draw from the same source, from the Jordan. Why is one alive and one dead? The answer is because the Kinneret, it's interesting slip, erase that. The Kinneret is something that receives and gives. The other one just takes and dies. It doesn't give. Receives, but doesn't give. So therefore, the same idea, we receive the Torah, Kabbalat Torah, we receive the Torah, but unless we are responding, we're dead. No matter how much Torah you have. Watch this. It's very interesting. You have a word called emet. Emet, which means truth, right? You look at the three letters of the word emet. It's Aleph, Mem, Taf. It's the very first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the very last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And it's the middle. Because something which is true, Shalom, something which is true from beginning to end, and all along this, even if on the outside you don't see it, it's running on deep waters, it's always true. Now, what do these three letters relate to? So Aleph, which is the most important of the three letters, is love, ahava. That you have to love God, you have to love the convert, you have to love Eretz Yisrael, you have to love your neighbor like you love yourself. It's all about love, and love is the heart. However, it doesn't stop there. Once you have the heart in its place, then you have the mem. And the mem is mitzvot. And the mitzvot are the physical body. There are 613 commandments that correlate to the 613 parts of the body, which is also very interesting because if you ever study like Chinese acupuncture, you'll know that there are 13 meridians with 613 points of entry. Yeah, and it also has a whole connection between tefillin and so Chabad wrote a lot about this. Really very interesting. Anyhow, the point is that the body, which is the mem, is the mitzvot. And the last letter, taf, is Torah. That's the intelligence, that's the wisdom, that's the seichel. But if you remove the first letter from emet, it spells dead. Mem taf is met, is dead. So therefore, the heart is something that is beating, like the breathing, right? We breathe is our neshima. Neshima is connected to the word neshama, which is the soul. That's why when a person is balanced and they're healthy and they're breathing correctly, this creates dis-ease, is a lack of ease. Therefore, illness comes from dis-ease. When we are at ease, when we breathe and so on, then that Torah that we have and its relationship to our body, because it's everything, not just something, is pumped by our heart. But that's the key. So the key is the heart. And when the Gemara asked the question, what is called the avodah of the heart? It answers prayer. Prayer is work. It's called avodah. Meaning, like, let's say, people have the same job, maybe not in Israel, but in the olden days, people have the same job, they work 60 years, they get a golden watch and die, right? So, but the point is that you're doing sometimes the same job day in and day out and day in and day out because you're working for the man. Here, you're working for the Creator. Every time you step up to the bat and you pray, you are doing avodah, you are doing work. I want to just read you from two Gemaras in Brachot that sort of bring out this idea as well. There's a website I highly recommend because I made it, so therefore I'm very prejudiced. And it's completely 100% free, which is why I'm busted, just kidding. But it's called the People's Talmud. It's designed for intelligent, smart people, no matter Jewish or not. Everyone's created by the same God, there's only one God. And so therefore it's a design to allow you to have the same access of the Talmudic wisdom, even if you didn't go to yeshiva your whole life. Why not? Talmud is a national treasure. Doesn't mean that this website is designed to stop you from learning more, but it's to inspire you to really begin learning. Take a look at it when you can. It's completely free, and I welcome constructive and especially destructive criticism, so you can let me know what you have to say about it. But so this is from that. The Gemara in Brachot at the very beginning, it says that prayer is a Jewish mantra. People wonder what the value is in having fixed prayer texts, like we were just talking about. Now, why can't people just pray spontaneously, like we've said, if in any form they wish? The answer is they absolutely can and should, but sometimes in the reality of daily life, we don't actually do that. So therefore, think of fixed text prayer like a mantra. Each time it is recited, it is drilling deeper and deeper into a person's soul, mining his inner spiritual light. Like when you are hammering a nail, you want to hit the same spot, the same way each time, as each hit moves the nail deeper. And that's what the prayer is designed to do. The Talmud takes this one step forward by emphasizing the importance of having fixed prayer for prayers as well, meaning this type of discipline, text and place. In other words, not only fixed in time, but you have a makom kavua, a place which is your place where you pray and daven, can turn a physical location into a sacred place. I just want a little side. I'm not going to touch on too much halacha here, but I do want to touch one point because many people do not learn this correctly and weirdness comes out. So I'm like into anti-weirdness. So weirdness is people know that, I learned a new law today. I have my own Daled Amot. That's the definition. That's the definition of MySpace. Yep, that's right. So now what happens is when you have that little bubble, if somebody pops your bubble or takes your seat, whoa, now what do I do? Meltdown. So I want to show you an interesting thing. According to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory, the distance, or let's call it the diameter of, the length of a Daled Amot is approximately 6.5 feet. Now, why is that important? That means if you're in a shul, let's say this is my seat in the shul, and somebody came in, new, visiting, whatever, had no idea that this is my seat, right? So he took my chair. Well, I could be really like, not so, get the, you sit in my chair? I'm here to pray to God. You sit in my chair? That's a good attitude to come to God, right? That's really healthy, okay? You could try that. It's not really going to do much. Or you don't say anything. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? What's your name? Welcome. So nice. Your first time here? Right? And don't say a word. Why? Because you sit in this chair, it's still inside your Dalet Amot. That's the point. Dalet Amot is bigger than you imagine. It has room to move. So you could sit here, you could sit here, here, or here, still have your sacred space, still have your bubble, and yet you had a chance to welcome somebody else who you should feel privileged that you're able to give him your seat. What an honor, my fellow brother. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome, please. Zone, yeah, like that. Staying in the zone. Good man. Ball player also? Basketball? No? Okay, that's kind of like hoop lashon. That's why it's really cool like that. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at davening in the morning. I know that the rabbi who's normally here is sort of the beginning of this prayer book. I think you're holding right now a table of contents or maybe copyright. I don't remember exactly where you're at. But I'm going to sort of jump to a helicopter aerial view of the morning prayer. Morning prayer, you have Sidurim if you want, if it helps, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Or you could watch the video 10 times. But morning prayer is really 4 basic components. The first part of them is what we would call the animal world. These are the offerings, the various, we call in Hebrew, karbonot. Now, karbonot is an interesting word to, especially if you are, had a real Jewish mother, because karbonot is often translated to sacrifice. I say Jewish mother because, I don't know, I got it. Do you know how much we sacrificed to put you through college and now you're just becoming a freaking hippie? Right? So there's always this thing about sacrifice. What I sacrificed for you. Oh, I'm sorry, let me just kill myself. Right? So what does that mean when I sacrificed for you? But that's not at all what korban means. Korban is from the word korov, to come close. And it comes close to the letter nun, which is the 50th gate of wisdom. The level where there is no argument. The level of ultimate unity and perfection. That's bringing yourself up. By giving, you're getting. That's the whole idea of prayer. You take the Torah, you give your soul in prayer. So this idea in the animal world is because animals have the soul of the human being is divided into different components. One component is called nefesh. Nefesh is the type of soul that an animal has. Animals also have souls just like people do. Animals do not have neshamot. They don't have the higher level. They don't have ruach, but they have nefesh. If they didn't have nefesh, then there would be no way to have offerings. Because only by them having a nefesh and our having a nefesh are we actually able to transfer to the animal. Which is why when an animal offering was brought, they did, was that, you want to ask a question? I'm sorry. No, okay. That's why they did smicha. Smicha means literally to be somech, to lean upon. You had to lean on the animal. You had to feel it. You had to feel like crap. You had to realize that this little animal, why should it die? Because of you? Because you screwed up? It has to die because you screwed up? That's nice. That's fair. Hopefully it repulses you to the point that you won't screw up again. Because that experience was horrible. Horrible. Okay? So that's the whole idea. But nonetheless, more horrible will be, God forbid, if we died. So God leaves us a little loophole, because after all, God owns everything. God owns us. God owns the animals. God can decide whatever God wishes. We're all in God's sandbox. Everything, right? So therefore, the animal becomes something that we transfer. Now, in saying the karbonot, what we're basically trying to do is begin to wake up the lowest level of our soul, which is good in the morning. Because I don't know how many coffees you have to shoot down before you go to prayer, right? But certainly at least one, just to get the Where am I happening, right? And therefore, when you're in the tefillah, you start at the animal level. The second level is the level of trees, or let's call it the human world, because man is like a tree. I don't want to go into that right now, it's another class, but this idea of the trees and so on, and this is the section which is called Psukei de Zimra, which a simple translation is Psukei is a verses of song. A song, Zamir is a song, right? So verses of song is basically a sort of ground level translation of Psukei de Zimra. But if you bump it up one level, you'll see something phenomenal. Lifsok means to cut. Like if you ask a rabbi halacha, he'll give you a psak. In other words, the psak is cut. This is where it is. You want to know where it is? Bing. This is where it is. So lifsok, or a pasuk, is called a verse because it's like in geometry, it's like a line segment. Has a beginning and an end. It's cut here, it's cut there. That line segment is a pasuk. So psuke means to cut. Zemer also means the brushes, the trees. When you go out there with your electric, what are they called even? Electric, whatever, the electric thing. And you're like cutting the bushes, the trees, to make it a nice, beautiful garden. That's actually what you're doing here. Because in the Garden of Eden, everything was harmonious. All the vegetation, everything was just beautiful beyond comprehension and gorgeous. But the minute that its equilibrium became askewed through the downfall of Adam and Eve, suddenly there was dardar. Suddenly there were all of the things where it's like kind of like a thorn bush, where you could no longer tell the difference between the beautiful rose or getting pricked by the little thorns. Right. Everything becomes mixed up.
And that's where we are today, right? We're trying
absolutely. Right. And so therefore that idea now that's what we're doing. So now that we've finished our animal level, we've come into the level of living as human beings, but we're in it in a way to be able to clean it up. Psukei de Zimra. Now, just a little halakhic issues, because it's important sometimes. Forgetting the difference between Ashkenaz and Svard or Svardi, because there are a few differences there, but on a simple level, the primary format of this area called Psukei de Zimra are two pillars. One is Baruch She'amar, which ends in a blessing, and the other is Shtabach, which also ends in a blessing. According to Nusach Svard or Svardi, they have a couple that come before Baruch She'amar, like Hodu, for example. Doesn't really matter. The point is that the main pillars are these two. That's why you're not supposed to talk in between the two of them, because you really want to connect the blessing of Baruch She'amar to the blessing of Ishtabach. Now, if you look a little closer, it's really phenomenal. Besides Hodu, which we're not going to get into today, let's go to the first real Tehillim, which isn't even a Tehillim. It's called Yehi Kavod. Yehi Kavod is actually a compilation of selected verses. Okay, if you guys have Nusach Ashkenaz there, so then you have, after Ashkenaz, you have Hodu, which we're going to just skip over for now. Then you have a little teeny one called Mizmor LaTodah. And then the next real one is called Yehi Kavod. But the first psalm of King David is Ashrei. Now, you have Ashrei, a bunch of other psalms, before you get to I think they call in English, the Book of Chronicles, which is the story of King David praising God, and right? So you have a few of them. Guess what? Those psalms, starting with Ashrei, are the very end of Tehillim. So every time you are saying in the morning, your morning Psukei de Zimra, in a certain sense, you are completing the book of Psalms, because we say, I don't want to go down this road, but it's alluded to in something we do on Friday night. We say, Sof Maseh Makshavat Tchila. The last thing we do is rooted in the first thought. So therefore, every time we do something, like a siyum, we complete something, it brings with it all of that was there before. Just to digress for a minute, I think it's an interesting sidebar. The Vilna Gaon asks, what is this word siyum, right? You make a siyum if you finish a Gemara or whatever, so on. What is the word? So he points out that it means that when you finish the revealed, meaning that the book that you actually read, you also are picking up, unbeknownst to you, all of the mystical and hidden knowledge that came with the Gemara as well. And how do you see that? So I don't want to get too deep, but it's really, I think you can deal with this, it's cool. Has 4 letters, the word siyum. It's visible letters, meaning the letters that are on the surface, numerically equal their hidden letters. As if to suggest that that which is revealed and that which is hidden are one and the same. So if you look at the letter samech, which is the first letter, it's 60. And if you look at the letters, if you were to spell the word samech, it's samech mem kaf. That's samech in written form. So mem kaf is also 60. That's samech. Then you have yud. So yud on the surface is 10. But if you write out the letter yud, it's yud vav daled. Vav daled is 10. And then you come to siyum, you come to mem, which is only the letter mem, right? So mem, what letter did I missed one here. Oh, vav. No. Yeah, vav. And vav is vav, vav. So all of the 4 letters of siyum are exactly as you see on the outside, they are on the inside. So that idea of finishing Psalms with these Psuke de Zimra in a certain way is bringing in the whole power of King David, which is why the minute that we finish this piece on King David, the prayer now when we stand up, because we've done our work, so standing up is like the epitome of being a human being, right? Because the difference between an animal and a human being, here, I'll illustrate. This is a little 4-legged animal. And on this level of animal, it's got a head, it's got a heart, and it's got a kidney. The 3 energy zones, let's say, according to Kabbalah of Judaism. Therefore, as an animal, though, it's all the same level. By a human who's erect, the head is above the heart, and the heart is above the kidneys. Now, if you look at the 3 letters that spell these organs, you have mem, because brain is moach. You have you have lamed, which is heart, and then you have kalayim, which is kaf. So that spells king, melech. So when you rule over yourself, your mind, by the Torah that you learn, is powerful enough, no matter how strong your emotions are, you're a horseback rider. You can control it. You can own it. It's your life. Own it. God gave you what you needed to do. Each of us have our own package, specifically for our particular voyage, journey through this world.
Tikkun?
As well, that's later. We'll take if you like the word tikkun, I'll take a quick little side thing on tikkun. Don't disappear.
Yeah, she got water.
Oh, okay. I hope you won't miss this.
I'm actually listening, so I have to take a break.
It's good.
I'm kidding.
It's okay. So you have a word in Hebrew, which is even in modern Hebrew, called teku.
Teku.
Anybody know what teku means? Great. I wasn't there yet, but you already. We'll hold on to that. I'm going to just put that there for a second. Just the word, though. That was the acronym. But great. I'll get back to that.
Teku means equal.
Yeah. How about modern Hebrew?
It means tie.
Yeah, in a basketball game, if it's a tie game, it's teku. If it's a wrestling match, it's teku. Exactly. So teku means that it's a tie, meaning that our sages were unable to get to the nun shari bina of a particular argument, and therefore zev v'zeh divrei Elokim hayim. Both sides are the will of God because it hadn't been resolved yet. But once you get to the level of 50, the level of Rebbe Meir, then there's no more makloket. Everyone knows Stam Mishnah Rebbe Meir. So therefore, the acronym is what's your name?
Yehuda.
Wow, what's that?
Yehuda.
Oh, Yehuda. I heard something else. Must have been the air conditioner. Gedaliah, nice to meet you. So the acronym of the word teku actually is a reference to Eliyahu arriving and resolving all of these arguments. Okay, we won't deal with why Eliyahu, if it's already resurrection of the dead, you got Moshe Rabbeinu standing there. But that's not today's class. But it's Eliyahu. And what does he do? How does he do the tikkun? He puts the nun, which is the 50th gate of wisdom, and he attaches it to the word teku. It becomes tikkun. By bringing that level, which couldn't reach the highest height, Eliyahu reaches us, and that's why he resolves that particular machloket. Okay, so now you have the next level. Now you hit Baruch Hu. I mean, you have Ozier Shir, not spending too much more time on that. I don't want to lose our time here. I apologize. I told my wife I've been teaching for almost 40 years now, and doesn't matter. I feel such a responsibility to the Yidden people who come to my classes, that I really feel it's important to come up with original material and to prepare well. So I wind up preparing like 5 hours worth of material for a 50-minute class, so I'll still see if we can keep moving. Anyhow, you hit Baruch Hu. Now Baruch Hu, you did the animal, you did the world of people, and if you read the words, you see that's all about people and so on and so on. But now you're in the world of angels. It's all angelic from Baruch Hu until you get to the Shmona Esray. This is called the world of angels. And if you look at the text, you'll see in the angels, this one, Choral Zel, Zel V'Amar, each one calls to each one and so on. And then a little interesting thing I heard from Rabbi Leifer of blessed memory, when I used to live in Sfat. It says, and then it comes up from behind me a great noise, Rash Gadol. Rash Gadol. Even the words like an onomatopoeia, Rash Gadol, a great noise. But these are angels talking. Angels are the ones that don't even bother to listen to Aramaic because it's tameh in their ears. So then what is it that is this great sound that comes up from the Netherlands of planet Earth? I call it URF. And I don't spell it EARTH. I call it Earth because that's the sound you make when your soul comes flying down from heaven. Earth, when you hit this planet. So now you're lost in this planet. What the freak am I doing here, right? And so on. And so now you're here trying to figure it all out. Nope, wrong. Nope, wrong. Oh, well, a little bit. Okay, wrong. Right? And that's what we're doing. So as we're going through this process as we're trying to grow and to grow and to grow, we have to come to this level. What could it be? What noise would the angels, I'm going to sound very religious here, hearken to hear? Right? What would the angels hearken to hear? Ooh, is that the sound of somebody watching TikTok? No, I don't think that's it. Right? So then what would it be? So Rabbi Leifer points out the numerical value of the word Rash Gadol is 613. Every time a Yid, actually not just a Yid, any person, because all people of the world have at least 7 commandments of the Noahide laws, which actually is all 613, but that's not today's class. But therefore, every time a person does a mitzvah, ding, 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 there's sounds. It's heard. It's heard. It's not just a little ding, actually. Bang! Right? It's Rash Gadol. And that's what the angels hearken to. And that's what we have. Amazing opportunity. You know why? Forgive me, angels, but it's no big deal to be an angel. I mean, seriously. What are you afraid of? Hell's angels? I doubt it. Right? You know what you're doing. You see your Kodesh Baruch Hu in everything. It's unbelievable. It's, as they say in Spanish, gewaltig. Right? It's a wonderful experience to be in heaven. So, mazel tov. Mazel tov. You worship God? Mazel tov. Try to come down here inside one of these things. Let's see how well you do here. Let's see how well you do, when it's summertime in Tel Aviv. Good luck with that one, right? Let's see how you deal with an opportunity to slip another little mill. I always remember when they were busting Anderson, the big accounting group, and I was watching the U.S. Senate, and they had the accountants there, and they were like, with all their books and books and books, and the senators repeating, and the guy looks up, one of the accountants, that billion. Oh, I'm sorry. Right? So when you have all the temptations of this world, and guess what? You still put on tefillin? That's amazing. You're still wearing tzitzis? That's amazing. It's amazing. The Vilna Gaon cried on his bed, and his Talmidim said, "What are you crying? They're already rolling. I could see the red carpet already coming down. What are you crying?" He says, "Right now I could take a couple of pennies out of my pocket, buy a few stupid, meaningless little strings, but I tie them in a special way on a particular garment, Rash Gadol." It's just amazing. And that's what we have. We have opportunity. You know, in Wall Street, we used to say, we used to work down in Wall Street. I went from the Wall Street to the wall. So we used to work on Wall Street. We used to say that opportunity knocks at the door but won't open it. You have to open it. If you don't open it, just assumes there's nobody home. It goes away. But as long as you're alive, there's always opportunity. Within a flash of an eye, maybe I'll digress for a second. There was, I can't remember his name, unfortunately, Rabbi Yehuda maybe. Ben, I don't know. He was a connoisseur of prostitutes. He traveled the entire world sleeping with every beautiful woman he could possibly find. And then finally he hears about...
Epstein?
What?
Epstein?
No. Epstein. Rewind, delete. Hold on. But that was funny. Okay. No. Anyhow, in the Gemara, it's a Gemara, still in the Gemara. And as he traveled, he finally heard, I think Rashi points out that the ultimate woman was Cleopatra. And he gets to her, and I don't know the whole story, whatever. Anyhow, bottom line of what?
One of the emperors, no?
No. This was a Jew. Yeah. And he No. Josephus was way after the days of the... Anyhow, or way before rather. Anyhow, so as he's there, he finds out that he's gone too far. No tshuva for you, Charlie. Sorry. Door lock, keys thrown away. You're out. You want out? You're out. Okay? And he freaked, obviously. And it says that he put his, he prayed to the mountains, and the mountains quoted verses saying, well, we're also going to die. And then he quoted the sun and the moon. Oh, well, we're also going to be dead. And then he realized there's talui bi. It only depends on me. And he sat down with his head between his knees and he cried and cried until his soul came out. And a voice from heaven, what we call bat kol, said, welcome, Rabbi so-and-so. And Rebbe, who tells this story, himself started to cry. He said, I worked my whole life to be a good Jew. I try every single man. I don't know if I'm going to heaven or not. Like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. I don't know if I'm going to heaven or not. Right? Great giants. They don't know if they're going to heaven. And this guy, on the turn of a dime, on the last breath, bottom of the ninth, out of the park, and he wins. That's what opportunity is about. That's how precious life is. As long, doesn't, God forbid, you see a person in a hospital, they can't talk, nothing, cannot pull that plug. Cannot pull the plug. Because you don't know what's going on inside there. You don't know what thoughts. And God forbid he's about to say, yes, I love you. Boop. Right? You can't pull that plug.
And maybe you're talking about Mark Antony?
No, it wasn't a Roman. It wasn't a Roman. Okay. Yeah, Cleopatra, right. Should have stopped with the last one, it was better. Okay. So now, another idea. So then finally, we finished the world of the angels, and we have the Shema Yisrael, which we're going to go to in a few more seconds. And then we come to the king and I, the Shmona Esray. 18, Chai, life. Life is only from God. Nothing can kill you, only when God collects you. And then you know if God collected you, what can you say? Bruch Dayen Emet. He is the righteous judge. And so therefore, it's all about God. So, what then is Shmona Esray? It's a little bit of a farce, God forbid, on a superficial. Yeah, that's right, God. Hi, Gedaliah over here. 10356. Yeah, that's me. Okay. So I have a list of requests here. I think there's some things that you should bring to your attention, and maybe you can take care of them. I would like to have more knowledge than I have now. Yeah, that's the first one on the list. What? Seriously? That's what you're doing on Shmona Esray? And if you shuckle harder, then there's a better chance you'll be heard. If you just, what is that, the Jewish boogie? Right? God, what's that with Madagascar? I've got to move it, right? Well, so what is that? What is that? You have to say loud because God's like a little old. What is this? What is this? So the answer is that the secret of the Shmona Esray is for us to remember deeper, that everything is in God's control, and everything that we need for our life as an individual, which we'll get to in a minute, or as a nation, is under control. I mean, we used the expression before, and I just assumed that you know this. I'll just repeat. There's a term called a bat kol. Bat kol is an expression for a voice that comes from heaven. Okay? There were and are, according to Gemara, there are bat kol that are going out all the time. We just don't have the kalim, the vessels, to be able to receive them, but they're all going out all the time. And then there are those that were received, some in the form of prophecy, some in the form of like Ruach HaKodesh, some in the form of just actually hearing the actual, whatever it was. I want to tell you one bat kol that never happened. I want to tell you one thing that never was said from heaven. Never. I'll put everything on it. All in, 18 red, all in. Okay? You know what it was? Ready? Whoops. That never happened. There was never, I missed him. Never happened. Never happened where God lost control for a billionth of a billionth of a billionth. Now, some of his agents did. There's another great Gemara, which I shouldn't go into, which is the angel of death can't handle the load. They're like what's that?
He went whoops. One time he picked up the wrong.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right? You can just imagine like these are like little mini angel of death. Like if you ever watched Austin Powers, so he has like little mini me angels of death who go out and do collections. And these guys were like, maybe like hitting the bottle as they're like coming down to earth or whatever. What was that name again? I can't really read it. Right? And then they got the wrong person. And they brought the wrong person up. And now whoa, this 2.0 number doesn't really match. And they say, what do we do with her? And she's like, duct tape. Right? I say, well, we can't send her back. Right? Because then she'll tell everybody, game over. There is life after death. Oh, okay. Right? So we can't do that. Right? So what can we do? So they decided we can give her extra years to tzaddikim. And the mitzvot that they do, will be a revenue share. And she will also get part of the profits so that she won't lose it. But yeah, that was good, man. That's good. That was the one. That wasn't God, though. Yes, please.
What do you think about people using religion to serve themselves?
Great question. Not class for today.
Really use it.
It's okay. It's a good question. It really is. And you should. All questions are holy. But otherwise, the problem with Judaism, we have to drive a straight road. So we're staying here right now on tefillot. Okay. So therefore, you reach the highest level of you are alone with God. This is a precious moment. Don't use it like we began the class by saying, don't use it to daydream about what you're going to do in your proposal when you make your pitch for your next startup, or, oh my gosh, my wife is angry with me, what do I do, or whatever it is. There's no lack of junk out there to distract you. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a little window. And therefore, I want to teach you another halacha. In the morning prayer, it's an argument among our sages if any of it is a Torah level commandment. Rabbi Yochanan says, of course, that prayer itself is a Torah level. But we're talking about the structured prayer of Shacharit, the morning prayer. And even if there is, the only opinion that holds that it's a Torah level commandment is the reciting of Shema Yisrael. Now, there's an interesting, I brought the Gemara, but I don't want to waste time. I'll just tell it to you on the outside. One of the later chapters in the Gemara here in Sota talks about how we deal with war. Since we've been at war for quite some time now, it's an interesting thing. And one of the things is that when the soldiers were getting ready to go to the battle, a particular appointed Kohen would come and he would address. This is found in the Torah as well, but the Gemara elaborates on it. And he would say certain things to them. Anybody who built a home, who didn't, and so on and so on and so on. But one of the things it says is that he says Shema Yisrael right up at the beginning. And Rashi says, the Gemara says, "My shno Shema Yisrael." why is Shema Yisrael different? And the Marsha says, that's a very strange language of Rashi. Rashi should have said, Shema Yisrael lama li. Why do I need Shema Yisrael? Why does he use the language of Maishna versus the language of lama li? They mean two different things. And the answer is, because everything the Kohen is telling the people, the soldiers, is in the plural. And Shema Yisrael begins with the Yachid, you as an individual. So why this is what Rashi says, this is what Gemara is really asking, why does the Gemara go from public to individual and then back to public? That's what's strange. Why? And the Gemara gives I'll read the language inside. The Gemara gives a phenomenal answer here. And it says, so Va'amar Alehem Shema Yisrael, that's the language of the Mishnah. The Gemara says, Maishna Shema Yisrael. And here Rashi, just here inside, he says, Lama matchil b'loshen zeh. Why do we begin with this particular language? And that's what the Marsha hops on. What he means is because why do we suddenly revert to the singular? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. It doesn't get more exciting than those two gentlemen, right? So they say, Amar Lehen HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says to the Jews, Lisroel, Afilu lokamta, if you don't do any mitzvot, Has v'shalom. But this is the Gemara. Lo kamta, you don't do anything, Ella, except Kriyat Shema, Shaharit v'Aravit, you just say Kriyat Shema in the morning and at night, atem nimsarin biyadam, you will not be given over to your enemies. It's the Gemara. Now, on the one hand, there are two parallel worlds here. The enemies can also be understood as the Yetzer Hara. You won't be. But in the context of this Gemara, which is Moshech Milchama, talking about war, it means actual enemies. Just a little side point since we live here. The Gemara says it makes a play on the word Alehem on them, because if it's a Jewish war, but believe it or not, there were Jewish wars, then if you get captured by the other side, because you're a Jew, they'll have mercy. And he brings psukim from Tanakh of Jews that were captured, and they took care of them, and so on and so on. And then the Gemara says, however, when you fight Hamas, alovechem, on your enemies, atem holichim. They're the ones that you're going to fight. She'im tiplu biyadam, because if you become a hostage in their hands, ein merachamim alechem. They will not have mercy on you. And that's what you got to know. And so Kriyat Shema therefore has the 248 words that correlate to the 248 physical limbs of the body, and it becomes the individual's iron dome. That's what it is. And if you can't catch those three words in the middle of davening, or you're davening alone, the Siddur provides you with three words to make up for it. And even if you're in a shul, let's say, and you didn't hear the guy, so there are 16 vav words that begin with vav at the end of the Shema, and that also is considered as mashlim, filling in the missing three. But the idea is the 248 together, that's yours. That's why the Kriyat Shema goes to you. Because each you, we, all of us have to first put skin in the game. Amen. Once it's skin in the game, then the next paragraph is plural. Okay, now we're together. But it begins with Kriyat Shema. That's why Kriyat Shema is the middle of this third section of being a human being. Now you became a mensch. And if you look in your Siddur at the Shema Yisrael, you'll see it has a large ayin and a large dalid, which spells the word witness. I am witnessing that I believe in the one God. And if you take the word Shema and you read it backwards, because it reveals what's hidden, it's Ol Mocha Shemayim. You accept Ol as the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. Saying Shema is bringing the kingdom of heaven upon yourself, fortifying your entire body with the 248 limbs through the 248 words, and that becomes your force field. That is perhaps a Torah commandment. Now, if that's the case, let's think about this. What happens if you're in a minyan and you feel like you're a cowboy? Everyone's like, phew! And you're like, well, wait a minute. So guess what? The only part of your prayer, it's really important, the only part of your prayer that requires you to be in a minyan, in other words, with your chevra, is the Shmona Esray. There's no mitzvah to have to say Shema together. You do say Shema together. It's a different thing to show you part and parcel. But you don't have to say the Shema with everybody else. So therefore, know your own speed. If you need more time, get to shul 10 minutes earlier. Start davening. It's okay. Start davening. Read the Shema correctly. Think about the words. Oh, who said that? Think about the words, right? Baal Shem Tov says that, it says there, God says to Noah, enter the ark. Now the word in Hebrew for ark is teva, which is also another word for word. So the Baal Shem Tov says that each word of your prayers are like little boats that are coming out, and you're filling them with your neshama as you say them with the kavana of your mind. Think of the tefillin on your head like a light, the lighthouse, showing the boats. So like here's the light of the lighthouse illuminating your little boats going off into the dark world with a little light inside because you put your soul inside of it when you fill them up with kavana. So therefore, when you daven like that, don't let anybody rush you. I mean, davening in shul is the ultimate peer pressure. It's so nonsense.
Not at Yiboneh.
What?
Not at Yiboneh.
Good, yeah. 10 kilo. Right, exactly. So therefore, don't rush. Allow the time that you need, because guess what? Why waste your life? Why waste your life? I remember I was on an airplane once with Shlomo Riskin, may he be well. And somebody asked him, Rebbe, can you define the word kavanah, meaning focus or attention? He said, no, I can't do it. But I'll tell you what it's not. That I can do. What it's not is, I'm in the middle of benching from a bread, and I'm saying to him, That's called not kavanah. Could you just imagine you have 10 minutes, let's say you're in high tech or business, and you got a great idea, and miraculously you've got a 10-minute meeting with Elon Musk to pitch it. Here you are, you're Elon Musk, okay? I'm about to pitch my idea. I'm talking to you. And as I'm talking, where's my mom? Yeah, and we also think that, just one, yeah. And you're standing before God? Standing before God? If you don't believe in God, just toss it. But if you do, then wear it. Live it. Live it. Who are you fooling? What game is this? You have to out-from the other guy because you got the right look? Because you know how to do the right, whatever. What are you going to eat fish with your hand? What is that? Right? So this is the beauty of realizing the Shmona Esray, is yours. You have to come into God, but all together as one. So that's the most important part in your prayer. Time yourself so that you can be there at that moment. Okay, let's just see if there's another 300 pages, but I'll just see. Shoot. Hey, you know what? I'll leave off with this one for a wonderful quote from Reb Shlomo Karlibach. So Gemara Brachas, on the back of your heart, that way you can remember 32b, Lev Bet, right? The back of your heart. The Gemara talks about something called holy arrogance. And Reb Shlomo used to call it holy chutzpah. That there's chutzpah and there's holy chutzpah. Everything has holiness. For example, the Gemara says there are three things that take a person like a vacuum cleaner out of this world. Jealousy, desires, and seeking honor. Well, jealousy, desires, and honor are good things. So what's the Mishnah mean? Maybe this is an important point here. I'll drill down on this. It's a mind-boggling Midrash Rabbah in the beginning of the Torah. It says, God on each day says Tov, good. On one day, he holds back on it and delivers a double dose on the next day. But on Friday comes Tov Ma'od, very good. Now, what is very good, right? I mean, what does that mean? I mean, this is God creating stuff. Oh, this is good. Wait till they check this out. This is very good. They're going to love this one. So obviously the Midrash was really into understanding what was this. You know, as we say in Hebrew, right? Que pasa, Señor? So what was this? That was like really good. So it says, I'll tell you what was really good. Angel of death, the devil, the Yetzer Hara. This is the Midrash. This is the Midrash. Midrash Rabbah. I mean, this is written by the same Tanoim that wrote our Gemoras and Amoraim. What does this mean? What does it mean? Are we living on some sick sadomasochist planet that we were all like set up like a little remember Pac-Man and each of us trying to run away from being eaten by dinosaurs or whatever? What does this mean? So the Baal Shem Tov explains it. It's actually found in the Midrash as well. The Baal Shem explains it in a very beautiful way. Everything God makes is good. Man distorts the good and it becomes bad. So the letters for the word ma'od, which means very, are the same letters for the word Adam, man. Man was created on the sixth day. That's this power. Man was created with free will. She has the power to bring death into the world. Adam and Eve did it. Right? And power, they brought death in the world. They have the power to succumb to the Yetzer Hara. They have the power, all of this negativity. It comes from Adam when he's not Adam, when he's mixed up and confused. He's the most volatile, dangerous animal on the planet, bar none. No giraffe can launch a nuclear bomb. Only one, they're training them. Only one creature can do that as of now. And so therefore, this idea is that when God made it, it's tov. When we distort it, it becomes the word very. There are two primary words for sin in Hebrew. There's avera, like the English word O-V-E-R, to transgress, to go too far. And there's chet, from the word mehateh, which means to stymie or to miss the mark, or too little. So it's either T-O-O-F-A-R or T-O-O little. If you hit the target that God made, it's good. It's only when we don't live up to its potential or we abuse it that it becomes bad. Now back to our closing point here. So therefore, jealousy is not bad. We have it in our Torah. It's called kinat sofrim. There is a mitzvah to actually induce jealousy among scribes in order to motivate them by using the negative to the positive, that they'll be better. Because, if you're playing basketball, you're just shooting hoops by yourself, you think you're like, I don't know, right? But when you're on the court and somebody's covering you, are you still hitting those shots or not? Right? So same idea. So your situation where you're competing with other scholars, it's sharpening you. How do you make iron sharp? Iron against iron. So brain against brain. That's why you learn in a Beit Midrash with a chavruta. You don't just sit at home and read books. You have to have somebody say, what are you, nuts? That's not what it says there. And no, you're nuts. It does say it. And thus it begins the learning, right? And when you finish, after you've been fighting, you walk away with your best friend. Because you were fighting in holiness. Holiness fighting doesn't bring. So even fighting is good. Because you're fighting in order, because you really want to know truth. You don't want to be right. You want to know what is right, even if you're wrong. I don't care about being wrong. I want to know what's right. That's what the Haruta does. So jealousy can be used good. Desire is not bad. If the Gemara says that when the Sanhedrin locked away the Yetzer Hara for intimacy, not a single chicken laid an egg in one day. So that's the force of life. How can it be bad? Only if we abuse it. And honor is a wonderful thing. But here's an interesting thing about honor. Because yesterday was the yard site of Aaron HaKohen. So Aaron HaKohen says that a person who runs after honor runs away from them. But a person who runs away from honor runs after them. Well, in the desert, they had the Aneni HaKavod, the clouds of honor. Whose merit were those clouds? Aaron. Aaron, because he ran away from honor, became known throughout Jewish history as the man who had the greatest honor. The clouds of glory, the clouds of honor were in his benefit. So I just want to end by saying that this is what the idea, there is a holy chutzpah in the way that we can pray to God. And it's something that can actually be very good and very welcomed. But here's the differentiation. In two different sources, I'm going to be brief here. In two different sources, it says, Iyun Tfilah, to go into prayer in depth is a good thing. And in another source, it says it's a horrible thing. What's the difference? Difference is, Iyun Tfilah means that you really feel that you daven so wonderfully that the angels are definitely giving you high five, standing. Whoa, did you see that guy over there in Rabbi Gurfein, how he was davening? Whoa, God, come. You won't believe this. Look at that guy, watch how, whoa, look at the shuckle, right? Unbelievable, right? And so you walk away, right? I'm sure God will answer me. And you don't get answered. You get bummed out. Whoa, that's the best. I gave it everything. I gave 110. How could you not answer me, God? I gave you, rang it. How can you not answer me? That's the dangerous Iyun Tfilah. Because that type of Iyun Tfilah is really arrogance. But the holy chutzpah of Iyun Tfilah is where you just keep hitting, say the same words 3 times a day, hitting until suddenly, like by Rabbi Akiva, the rock explodes and the water beat the rock. So the arrogance of ego stands for edging God out. The ego shell that blocks that relationship to God finally snaps. We become so humble, but the humble doesn't mean that we lose our sense of being. Just the opposite. The humble actually releases our true sense of being. Right, because everything else was just the Wizard of Oz. And therefore, we have that chance. That's the power of prayer. I bless you. I bless myself. I bless all of us that we should open up this amazing fortress of real weapons with real power that can change the face of the world through our prayer. Okay, thank you very much.
Shema Esray